All right, Kevin, thank you for joining us today for the Small Business Coaching Brief. How are things?
Things are great. We are digging out from quite a bit of snow earlier this week, and it's a beautiful sunny day here in the foothills of the Rockies.
That's right. And I hear now something's going on this weekend that's kind of a big deal for Colorado. What is
that? It seems, yeah. I think it might have something to do with football.
It does.
So
you can see I'm wearing
blue. Yes, I actually have already been out for a meeting this morning with an accountant who showed up in jeans and a Broncos jersey because he said it was Broncos Day at his office. Great.
I sent children off today with their get up on as well, and so I made sure I wore my obligatory jersey and people were yelling, so it's a big deal. I'm sure San Francisco is enjoying a big influx of traffic and business and revenue and everything that goes along with that.
I'm sure they are. So I wish them all the best.
That's right.
I'll be firmly planted in front of the television Sunday afternoon. Although I am one of those guys that DVRs it stays a few minutes behind. So.
Oh yeah. Do you and we always turn off the radio so we can listen to Dave Logan call it on the radio But yeah.
Well, that doesn't work so much if you're doing a delay like I do, but I do have to make sure I don't look at my cell phone so people don't text me with, "Hey, that's really great," or last time around, "Oh, that's too bad." And I think, well, I'm still watching the game. So we invoke a particular rule so that I don't find out.
That's right. Well, cool. Well, we are continuing your small business coaching brief today, kind of looping off of an event you held, and was hosted by the North Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce about personal vision. Can you talk a bit more about what was the central theme of that presentation?
I'd say the central theme of personal vision, and this is something I do with all of my coaching clients and all of the TAB members I work with as a first step, is figuring out what you really want, what really motivates you. Because what I tell people is you need to start, when you start something, you need to start with the end in mind. And the goal of this process is, it's more of a thought exercise, but many studies over the years have found that people that actually have a plan do much better in accomplishing their goals. Surprise, surprise.
Weird.
So this is a process that we go through a number of things where you ask people what motivates them, how much they need to be happy in terms of both tangible and intangible things, the relationships they have, the amount of assets that they really need, and what they really want to do with their lives. Because we encourage people to begin with the end in mind. And if you think about where you'd like to be in 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, or even if you're just starting out in your career, if you have goals that are rooted in your needs as well as some of your wants, then that's important. And that really goes a long way towards enabling you to plan what you want to do and how you want to do it to get to where you want to be.
I think that's great. What a novel idea to plan ahead for success. But I know as small business owners, we tend to, very cart before the horse. Like, I want to do this and I'm going to just do it instead of planning ahead. So that can hurt us more often.
Yeah, and really what the end of this process, or I don't want to say the end, but the outcome of this process is, it's an extended conversation with yourself and perhaps with your significant other, because I do emphasize when I'm doing this exercise with someone that it's your vision. It's not your parents' vision. It's not your husband's, wife's, boyfriend's, girlfriend's, whatever vision. It's your vision. But if you do have husband, wife, significant other, I encourage you to make them part of the process. But it's yours, you own it, and it's what you want to do with your life. And it takes a while to do it because it's very thought-provoking, particularly for people that haven't looked at this. And the goal is to come out with, maybe 5 or 6 bullet points and 100 words or so of really the key things that you want to accomplish and the goals, the places you want to be.
Mm-hmm. I like that you emphasize that it's 100 words or thereabouts, and that it can actually be that simple. Because a lot of us are used to having to draft a mission statement and the business plan, pages, and instead this is a digestible, easy. It's easier to remember if it's short, right?
Yeah, it's easy to remember, and it's not carved in stone, because I encourage people to refer to it frequently. And of the people I work with, there are folks that look at it maybe once a year to see if they're any closer or if they need to make any changes. And there are people I work with who keep it posted on the wall next to where they work, in their home office or their office at work, or they look at it every day and what can I do today that will get me closer to where I want to be?
Mm-hmm. That's great. And you say, so now I know when I was at this event and saw the presentation, and you talk about starting out at the beginning about kind of why we started a business in the first place. Can you talk about why, what you kind of emphasize with that?
Yeah, it's really, when people start a business, they generally do it to fulfill a couple of needs. They see a need in the market, but also entrepreneurs have that drive and have that spark to be their own boss and run their own business and be accountable for their own fate. And that's really what drives it. But a lot of this is what's driving you personally, what you want to accomplish. Do you want to make a difference, and in what way? Because the people that are the most successful in their businesses are making a difference in some way. They're making people's lives better. They're making people's lives easier, whether they're training people for a new career or whether they're helping people make sure that their affairs are taken care of legally or financially, or something in that nature, or even making their data work better for them and make it more secure. Those are all things that make people's lives better to some degree or another. Mm-hmm. And it's really important to have that in there somewhere.
Right. You also talk about in the personal vision, setup, how it's not just about achieving success, but there's a foundation to it. Mm-hmm. And I know you use a pyramid kind of visual in your deck about the foundation and the pinnacle of it.
Yeah, and I encourage people to, as they're doing this, take a look at your wants. That's perfectly fine. What would you do if you won the lottery? What would you buy? What would you want? Do you want a house on the beach? Do you want a boat? Whatever. But also balance it with your needs, because I see cases where people would love to pull a significant amount of money out of their business every year. But to do that, they would have to spend a lot more time and effort on the business when really they need a certain amount, and they can devote the rest of the time to their family, which may be more important to them or should be more important to them. But if you balance the wants and needs carefully, then I think you'll realize that you don't need as much as you want, and you can spend that energy and that effort in other directions that are intrinsically more rewarding.
Right. And I like that. So that is the first component you have people focus on for their personal vision. You talk about that financial, material success. What does that look like? And
exactly.
We just had the big lottery drawing in the last month where everybody went out because it was such a massive amount of winnings. And I think we can all get googly-eyed when we are thinking about, well, I want my business to be so successful that I am the next Jobs and can buy countries. But can you talk about that? And you did talk about it a little bit, but how do you help people kind of drill down to be more realistic? Because you do talk about the vision needing to be something you can actually achieve for your financial and material success.
Yeah, because really I ask people to think about things beyond just the financial and material. I'll ask questions such as how much time you really want to work on your business in the course of the week. How much time do you want to spend with friends and family during the course of the week, during the course of the year? How much vacation time do you want? And really what you see your role as being in the business, because you're not only a business owner and someone who works for the success of the business, but you also have your community interactions and your family interactions. And that moves on from the financial and material into more the intrinsic and the spiritual. Because I ask people what motivates them beyond the financial and material. What do they like to do? What charities are they interested in? Are they interested in being engaged in politics? What drives them spiritually? And from there, we move on to what are the other things that you'd like to do or accomplish? So, for example, your business is successful, and even moving on to the end, say you choose to sell the business or move on, asking them, how you plan to do that or what you would like to do. But then what do you want to do beyond that? Do you have a book in you? You always wanted to learn to paint? Have you always wanted to learn to sail? Things like that. How are you going to fill the time once you're no longer actively involved in the business day?
You know, that was, I remember from the workshop that you did, that one kind of garnered the most activity of people, because you're taking them out of the work mode. They're in the trenches of their business working so hard and saying, no, I want you to actually look at what your life and schedule will look like when you're done.
Yeah.
What are you
How will you fill that void?
Right. And that's so important, because we don't think about that, or we just think, well, I'll just have free time. Well, a business owner is probably going to be needing to fill some hours, don't you think?
I would think, yeah. I mean, we have multiple cases and multiple stories of people that have just devoted their entire life to running the business, and now I'm going to sell it and retire. And they get up the day after they've sold it, and they have their coffee and they read their paper, and then it's, well, now what?
Yeah.
And it could be anything from, oh, I realize I need to start another business, or if I don't get out of the house, my wife, husband, whomever will smother me in my sleep if I hang around. You can only spend so much time there, and you can only have so much leisure time before eventually it begins to catch up with you.
You know, would you mind sharing, you did this at the workshop, you had an instance that you shared about not realizing how all that free time might affect the person you're living with.
Well, I have a friend, and actually we speak together occasionally, who's a serial entrepreneur. And he tells a story of when he had sold his last business. He got up in the morning, and he's an early riser. He gets up about 4. He said he went into the kitchen, he had his coffee, and he read his paper, and he did everything he wanted to do on the internet. And about 9 a.m., his wife came in, because she's a late riser, and it was, good morning, dear, good morning. We'll have a chat, and that was fine. And then he said the next day, he got up at 4, did the same thing, and was sitting there, and good morning, dear, when she comes in, morning. And that goes on. And on the 3rd day, he said he was there, he got up at 4 like always, did everything he wanted to do, and was sitting there when his wife comes into the kitchen about 9. He says, good morning, dear. And she glares at him and says, you're in my seat. That's where I like to sit when I read the paper and drink my coffee. He said, I'd never realized that, because I was always up and out of the house before she got up. And then she said, and by the way, I'd appreciate it if you don't use my computer. Because he'd been using the computer and changed some setups or what have you. And he'd never realized that, because he was up, he was out of the house. He used the computer at work and didn't use that. And he said, so he realized this wasn't going to do. So the next week he started planning to start his next company. So those are things you need to think about, and things you need to be aware of. And the other example we often use is, particularly in retirement, you do need to talk to your husband or wife or whomever you spend time with, because the classic example is the couple where one of them would like nothing better than to buy an RV and live in that and tour around the country, and the other one, and the husband or wife, would like nothing better than to buy a cabin on a lake and just sit there and close out the world. So it's important to have these discussions.
That's right. So today we've covered just the first 3 components of the total 8 areas that you should focus on for writing your personal vision statement. And again, I think you pointed out too, a lot. You know, we have 8, and we'll continue talking about these in your future small business coaching briefs.
Yes.
But as you write those 8 out, again, the 8 doesn't mean that you have to have pages of a personal vision. A lot of this is going to correlate with each other, with the different factors. And you were just talking about that, where, you know, you're trying to write down what you want your work role to be in your business. That can definitely speak to what you want it to be during the actual running of the business, and then what you want to do once you've passed it on, maybe to somebody else. And then also that work-life balance, what you want it to be during your length in the business, and then what you want it to be when you are done with the business. So all of these things seem to really, you know, tie in to a full picture of your personal vision.
Most definitely, yes.
Right.
But I'd say the one takeaway is, as you go through this process, really think about your wants versus your needs, and the other people that are involved in the process. So you own it, it's yours, but you don't exist in a vacuum.
That's right. Well, and so if you could give me some advice. So like I have not yet written my personal vision statement, which is naughty of me because I did go to your workshop.
For shame.
I know. Smack my hand, but I do want to do this. I know the importance of it. As I begin to take a look at these factors and start to write this down, is there any kind of admonishment or encouragement you can give me as I go do it, or other than just go sit down and do it? But anything you can give me is like a marching order to keep in mind as I'm writing it down.
I'd say keep in mind what's your base. What are your core values? Because you need to be consistent with your core values and what's important to you when you write your goals. Don't create something as part of your goal or your vision just because you think it's important to someone else. It needs to be important with you. It needs to be consistent with the way you live your life and the values you have.
Great. That's wonderful advice. I think it's hard for us to do that because we're thinking of everybody else, but I will keep that in mind as I pursue this, and I will have a progress for next time we talk about this.
All right, very good. I'll look forward to that.
Well, great, Kevin. Thanks for joining us again. It was the Small Business Coaching Brief. Let me share your website really fast because these are all available on your website as we go through these wonderful blab sessions and let people kind of check these out. Great. Thanks, Top's Take. I want to make sure I know your, that's cool. To the Top, sharing resources to help you realize your full potential in business. Great. Yep, Kevin is an awesome resource for small business owners. He's local to North Denver, but obviously this allows us to have a little bit farther reach. So we've got some great resources on his website as well. Actually, I will share your website link here. Kevin, I hope you have a fantastic day and continue leading business leaders into success.
That's the plan.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you all for joining us.
All right. Well, have a great weekend, everyone.